Well, if you're not a fan of The Miz, I think you can drink to the results of tonight's Monday Night Raw. A new WWE champion has been crowned. Your comments are going to get on screen in this live, instant, fan-driven post-show for Monday Night Raw. Just 40 days away from WrestleMania, we have a new WWE champion. What's up, everybody? It's WrestleZone. I am Kev Kellam, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois. That is John Clark in Central PA. Let me get John's mic on. There you are, John. If you guys are with us for the first time, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and just hit that little like button. It's super easy. Go ahead and share the link so you don't stink and get your comments on screen. If you're with us for the first time, if you're listening in your podcast ears, the entire show available on all the different podcasting apps. Let's just get right to it. John Clark, we got ourselves a new WWE champion. Bobby Lashley has dominated. The era of the Almighty has begun.
17 long years is how long he waited to finally have his moment, and you could tell when he won that he was happy. I think he knows that it's long overdue. His first run, he probably should have won it at some point. And then obviously he left. He was Impact for a while, and then things. Eventually he came back, and ever since he came back, he's kind of been getting better and better and better. And he finally had his moment. What do you think?
Let's see what the fans think. It's more important what the fans think. Especially if you guys are with us here for the first time, want to get this. Slammed Wrestling News says, I'm so happy about Bobby Lashley won the Universal Championship. Actually, technically it was the WWE Championship. But as for Braun Strowman, I can tell he had enough with WWE. We'll talk about that. There were some developments here tonight with him. If you guys are with us for the first time, once again, you can get your comments on screen and drive the conversation. A man who knows a thing or two about the WWE, man who has spray misted the hair of Roman Reigns. But Jay Feliciano says, hope Bobby Lashley signed that prenup. Lashley. Yeah. Hopefully no one gets the championship belt from him. Wouldn't that be crazy if Lana gets the belt from him somehow in like some marriage thing? If they want to bring that up again, that'd be awful.
Oh, God,
Joe DiMartino Jr., JDJ says, talk about going from rags to riches, from Lana marriage angle to WWE champ. Congrats to Lashley. Yeah, this certainly is a change of course for Bobby Lashley from where he was about a year ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely better for him to do this. I'm curious to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It appeared at the end of the show that it was almost like they were giving him like a babyface reaction, and I was like, why are they doing that? But maybe that was just a one-night thing.
Also, it'd just be the title change. I think there's enough WWE fans that just pop for seeing the title change hands, especially if you're watching every single week, right?
Yeah, of course. I think it's going to be interesting to see because we thought that this was going to be Fastlane. I think the Miz will somehow.
They were gonna do some, crafty way to finagle this thing to Fastlane.
Well, he's going to get a rematch probably at Fastlane somehow. He'll some way get a match or obviously Fastlane. We're going to have some kind of big number one contender match in which Drew would probably win. So maybe they're going in that direction.
Let's get into more people commenting here with different takes here. Herman, German Suplex Car, saying MVP was great pairing with Bobby Lashley. Of course, the whole thing went on throughout the whole night. Okay, if you just catching the results here, and it went on from the beginning of the night. The night ends with Bobby Lashley getting the hurt lock and tapping out Miz, who had been spending the entire 3 hours of Monday Night Raw trying to find his way to not be in this match. The first one, he gets himself disqualified in less than a minute or two, very, very quickly, just more or less an angle. In the 9 p.m. Eastern hour, they have another match, and they have a countdown clock building you up to every individual match. Really, really, the purpose of this, I can tell you, so someone who's been involved in programming meetings or broadcast media, is to get you locked into the show, to keep as many people from that first hour of the show into the next hour. I wonder if this is an angle that craftily works. Because they did two little angles that were technically matches, right? That led up to the end of the show, and it made you feel like something big and consequential was going to happen, right? So they do the second one, and if you look at wrestling Twitter, people saying this is bullshit, this is awful, what they're doing to Lashley is wrong, he deserves it.
MVP said it right to And
This is bullshit. I love how they
on
just, you just
TV.
say bullshit on TV now. Now it's just okay to say bullshit. Remember when it wasn't okay to say bullshit on TV? Yeah. So we have other people texting in who are really happy about this. Matthew Billard saying #Black Excellence. I know a lot of African American fans.
Second African American WWE champion.
Yeah, are responding to this great news. Of course, this comes shortly after Black History Month. Also, this isn't just any guy. This is Bobby Lashley, who's been with the company on and off for a very, very long time, for almost the better part of 2 decades now, and also is a Bellator fighter. Like, this guy fought in MMA when he was away from WWE and pro wrestling. At one point, was doing both. And is a decorated collegiate wrestler, and also defended the country in the military. So, like, I mean, like, the guy is legit. You look at him in an airport, he passes the head turning test, right? He looks like the guy. MVP as his manager talks like the guy. There's a lot of elements in that make for a classic champion. And I think for a lot of fans who want to see a strong African-American champion, they're getting one in Bobby Lashley without the shadow of a doubt here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was a perfect decision, and it was hard to. I think no matter what they would have done tonight, it would have been hard to screw it up, because I could have understood if somehow the Miz would have mangled his way out and then they'd take it to Fastlane. But I think we all knew coming out of Fastlane after the past couple of weeks that Lashley was going to be the champion. They're going to do it sooner rather than later, so they can. I mean, he's already built up like a huge monster right now, but just to keep that going into Mania, I think that's going to be good for him, and also who the challenger, which looks like Drew, but regardless, whoever the challenger is going to be, in for a battle.
Well, if you're just with us and you're just catching some of the show, you can't get the whole thing, go ahead and subscribe to the podcast, by the way. We have hours and hours of stuff. Thousands of people downloaded the show around the world last week, and you can join the party. Go ahead and subscribe. We're available on Apple. If you're with us live, we have the link right there in the chat as well. You can also get us on Spotify and all the other good apps. I know some people just joined us a little bit late. So what did you think of the whole beginning to end angle? Did that pay off for you? Did you feel like that consequence that they were kind of building to? And after the second time, Miz chicken shizzed his way out of a match where he got counted out at the beginning of the final hour of the show. You have Shane McMahon backstage saying, if he does this again, we're going to strip him of the title and award Bobby Lashley. That made you almost feel like there was some consequence here, that you were going to get something. Even if it wasn't a title change, you were going to get something. Do you think it paid off strong enough? I know because Bobby Lashley, he isn't a babyface. He isn't a babyface champion. But I think if you're a diehard WWE watcher, you still want to see a guy who's been there long enough, get his roses, get his award.
Yeah, I think it was okay. I'm fine with the way they did it tonight, where they kind of did 8, 9, 10, and 11 o'clock hour. They each had like, a little thing there. There was nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. What do you think, though?
I think it's a clever idea when you have a 3-hour show. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is something you couldn't do maybe you could do this on a 2-hour TV show. I remember one time they did a SmackDown where like Triple H took on like 6 little mini matches against people that he was going to be in a big multi-man match with. This is like 22 years ago or something like that. And it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool at the time, but they're all like very, very short matches. And also the end of the show was not a long match. They just added the Lumberjacks around the ring to make sure it was clear that he wasn't going to get out of the ring, and you got the payoff. I mean, like, here's the thing. If you wanted a big payoff, you got it. If you're bitching about this, I think you're kind of reaching for something. I found this to be a pretty entertaining angle. Now, mind you, I'm probably not supposed to like Bobby Lashley, but I'm definitely supposed to marvel at this guy as this, freakishly strong guy, right? And The Miz is a chicken shiz guy that you don't like, that you want to see lose. And if you really wanted to see The Miz lose, you saw him lose, but somehow someone's going to find a way to bitch. I can understand why this isn't the greatest angle to make a championship change hands, but I would certainly say it's an interesting one for a 3-hour TV show that you got to make interesting every single week.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we're going to see very much activity with this after tonight. I think they're going to kind of drop it and move on to the WrestleMania thing. The Miz and Morrison will move on to go back to the Bad Bunny thing. And it appears Lashley will then move forward with Drew McIntyre. They've been saying tonight over and over again, 6 weeks, 40 days, 40 days. That's not a long time to build and make a star show. So I think it's time to kind of move on and let's get this thing going for Mania.
You were talking about that. Obviously, the celebrity angle that has been built to here for a few months. The Miz at the January Royal Rumble pay-per-view having interactions physically with Bad Bunny, famous hip-hop superstar, one of the biggest stars in music right now, recently performed on SNL, and is I believe he's still the WWE 24/7 champion, their kind of comedy title. There was a lot of people who thought maybe Bad Bunny was going to get involved in this match. Do you like that they just kind of made it about Lashley getting the title? They made this about him being a real champion, him being a formidable champion, a fighting monster of a man who's going to hold this title at the biggest show of the year. Likely.
Absolutely. There's absolutely no reason that he would need to be involved in this stuff. He already has this thing with Priest right now, and look, like I said, next week they're going to immediately go back to this Miz and Morrison thing where he's probably going to make fun of the Miz, and it's going to go from there, and we're going to lead into this whole WrestleMania thing. It's very obvious he's going to get that match at Mania, and it's very obvious that it's probably going to be a tag team match with Priest, Miz, and Morrison. Just not official yet.
Great comment here from Big Ray Hernandez. Says, I followed Bobby Lashley through his venture, through Impact. I saw this coming. That man is believable. Yes, he absolutely is. And had an absolutely earned this accolade. By the way, the Hurt Business is the best thing on WWE television. Yes, this does make that faction look strong. I did like that they were part of the Lumberjacks that Shane McMahon called out at the end of the night to surround the ring. I like that. I thought that was completely into it. Other people here with their different takes on this. We'll talk about the rest of Monday Night Raw, but what's the direction you think coming out of this? Bobby Lashley is the new WWE champion on Monday Night Raw. We are 40 days away from WrestleMania. We are about almost 3 weeks away now from the Fastlane pay-per-view. Likely we'll see Bobby Lashley defend there. What's the scenario with him defending that championship before WrestleMania and possibly at WrestleMania for you?
I don't think he defends it at Fastlane, if I'm being honest with you. I think he probably doesn't defend it again until WrestleMania. Now, I'm going to give you two scenarios. I'm going to give you the one I think is going to happen and the one that I want to happen. And the one that I want to happen is, I think, one that most fans also want to happen. We would love to see Brock Lesnar eventually come back and make his case known to go against Bobby. Obviously, for that to happen, Heyman would have to pull double duty on Raw and SmackDown, which I think is something he very well could do. However, it's not what I think is going to happen, but it is what I want to happen. What I think is going to happen is at Fastlane, we'll get some kind of number one contender match between, let's say, a triple threat between The Miz, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre, where Drew McIntyre wins and he will go on to face Lashley at WrestleMania. That's, I think, the most realistic path right now. What do you think? What do you want to happen, and what do you think is going to happen?
I mean, if ever there was a scenario to bring Brock Lesnar back for a big marquee match, this is it. This is that scenario to do it. Lesnar is a guy who, from all the word that we've heard within the wrestling industry at WrestleZone and other places, he's not under contract with WWE, but he is a guy who's open to coming back when the price is right and the scenario is right. He's also a guy who was not happy to be performing at WrestleMania last year in front of no fans. As much as people think Brock Lesnar hates the wrestling business, he just hates touring. He hates traveling. He doesn't like doing it. He doesn't like making appearances. That's why he won't do it. But he does like big-time performances. He loves to perform. Whether you like that or not, he loves a real fighting performance.
Which
you saw it at the Royal Rumble, not this year, but the year prior. He loves a big fight scenario. And this is a big fight scenario. This is a match people have wanted for a long, long, long time. And they've never been able to do this. I don't believe their paths ever got to cross really in WWE before. I don't know if they've even ever had a match, if I'm wrong. If I am wrong, let me know about that.
I don't think they have, but like I said, I think the thing, if they go that path, is that we know they're not going to have fans after Mania for probably a couple more months. So I don't really think that they're going to actually put all of their, marbles on Lesnar winning. I think this would be Lashley just looking even stronger, beating Lesnar. And then what do you do? Because, Lashley just beat Lesnar and Drew McIntyre and, everybody. Now who do you put him up with?
A lot of different options here. But, I mean, Lesnar coming back for this first big WrestleMania as the WWE Network in the United States moves to Peacock, right? Live fans there. Tickets are still not on sale. I know people ask us every single day, when are tickets going to go on sale? We thought they would be on sale in the beginning of March. They haven't been put on sale just yet. So a lot of different scenarios with that, okay? So, but live fans are going to be at WrestleMania. How many live fans are going to be in Raymond James Stadium for 2 nights in Tampa Bay? Around 30,000 as you put up the number there. They're going to have a little bit more than this past year's Super Bowl.
And people over there address and ask me if I got tickets. No, I did not get tickets. And anybody that tells you that they got tickets is lying, because they didn't.
they're likely going to try and sell you some fake stuff online. So watch. Also, the more this happens, guys, watch out for fraudulent ticket scams and stuff like that too. When these tickets go on sale, we will let you know. We will let you know at WrestleZone.com. WWE will make it official. All right. When we have an idea that they could be going on sale from verified sources, we will let you know. And obviously, there's other wrestling websites you're going to go to. They're going to say a lot of different things. Just go to the websites you know are trustworthy. Okay. There are plenty of them that are not. I don't have to say their names. All right. That they would like. They just want the clicks and stuff like that. It isn't necessary. All right. But Lesnar versus Lashley could be a real big match. I know they've done Lashley versus Drew before. They did that. I believe they did this not this past summer, but the summer before that, maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe even this past summer. I want to say in like July or June. And Lashley was not the beast that he is now. He was not the monster he once was. And he is. They've really done a good job of making Lashley feel like that submission hold is going to get anybody. And if you get in it, you're not getting out. And they've really protected that move and protected him very well. I can't remember the last time I saw him come up, even with the Matt Riddle stuff. Like it just felt like that was just a pause. Anytime Riddle would get a win over him, it was like flashy or fluky. It was never like he got blasted and got pinned clean or anything like that. He was fairly protected in all that. And I think the benefit of it is, yeah, he may have lost the United States Championship, but as we saw at the end of Elimination Chamber, he is a force of change. He is a seismic force now. He's playing at a different level where it isn't just about championships. It's about he pivots the whole scenario around him with managers, and now the hurt business is literally an entire faction built around him, not around a manager. A lot of factions. The classic Heenan family, right? All the guys were just around Heenan, right? Or NWO, like they were around Hogan to a degree, or like that central group. No, this is all about Bobby. Her business is all built around Bobby Lashley. So that's interesting. There's a scenario you can go in there. If you really want to make him a heel, does he use that faction to create all these different obstacles to whoever that challenger could be? Could that be Drew McIntyre? Let's get into that. Drew McIntyre in action tonight. What do you think of that?
Yeah, him and Sheamus put on a very, very good match. It was the first match of the night and also probably the best match of the night.
Yeah, they went pretty long here, too. They got plenty of time, didn't they?
They have really good chemistry together in the ring, which I think is definitely important for two kind of like non-high flying, strong wrestlers. This was a very good match. They brutalized each other.
Oh, they hit each other so hard in this.
It was
and anyone who says that like, oh, Raw doesn't have like strong style wrestling, this is the closest to like a Japanese style, just like beat the snot out of each other style match in a long time.
This is the best that Sheamus has looked in the ring. Like, and I'm not talking tonight, but the past couple months.
He's been looking better and better because he's been able to do his type of thing, that
correct,
shines, and where he like hits people so hard you can see the welts and the 10 beats of the ball ring, and also the dynamic use of his speed where he'll get off the top rope once or twice in the match, but nothing that doesn't make him look less than a big man, if you will.
And back to what we kind of talked about in January, December there, the only real disappointment I see with this is that this kind of was like a payoff and a random grudge match on Raw. The point of Sheamus like turning on Drew should have been like a major WrestleMania match like we originally thought of. And tonight's match, like imagine what they could have done at WrestleMania. Like,
did it feel like you were getting a pay-per-view match on TV?
It did, but it also felt like this was it. Like it felt like this was kind of the end of this, which worries me for Sheamus.
Why would you need to have them do it again? If Drew beat him and it was a singles one-on-one straight up, and it was that style of match that plays into their roots and plays into them being European roughneck wrestlers, right? Why would you do it again? It's a great match. If you haven't seen, if you missed Raw, I mean, you can go and see the highlights of Lashley winning the title. It was more of an angle than it was a match, him winning the title. I agree with you. This is the best match of the night. I saw people raving about this, saying this was great, and they just loved the dynamic and you can see the real passion that these two guys have. They have a real physical chemistry. I can see them doing this match again down the line in the future. But we heard that this could possibly find its way onto WrestleMania. Is there a chance they could add some gimmick to freshen this up and get it on WrestleMania somehow?
I don't think so, because it's pretty obvious that Drew's going to be in the title match, and I don't think Sheamus is also going to be in a title match. And like I was getting to there talking about this match, the thing that worries me is I feel like Sheamus is definitely going to get lost in the mix here. There's really nothing for him to do after this. Kind of like how AJ Styles is lost in the mix right now also.
Good point. But there is 40 days before WrestleMania, and there are 2 nights of WrestleMania. So I think there's roles. Some people will get lost in the mix. Part of this, WWE just has a ton of really top tier guys, right? Some people are bound naturally to do it. It happens in AEW. There's plenty of talented people there that lose their spots here. Continue to let us know if you've been with us here. We want to know your rating for this week's Monday Night Raw. We'll give ours, the 1 to 10. All right. The 1 being you have to wait a whole other year to get that vaccine. The 10 being you get it tomorrow and it works in one shot and you're off to the races, you know? Yeah, all that good stuff. Yes, people agreeing on saying the best match of the night was Drew versus Sheamus. I'd like to see a rematch. So some people, they want to see more. I think maybe they do one at Fastlane. Maybe we get another match at Fastlane. So, I wouldn't mind if they did another one on TV just to make it interesting, or maybe, they each get a win off each other, because Sheamus, that week before the Elimination Chamber, Sheamus in that gauntlet match got a clean pinfall on Drew McIntyre. And a lot of people thought maybe that was a precursor to him getting a big win at the Chamber. That was not the case. Slam Wrestling News, the Texans one. Is there rumors that Brock Lesnar is coming back and having a match against Bobby Lashley? Well, here's the thing. That isn't a rumor. That is pure speculation, just like we addressed here. There is there's no reports that indicating that at the time since this title change happened tonight. We did hear about Brock Lesnar a few months ago, being involved in plans for WrestleMania. But we haven't heard much since that initial report. And we haven't heard that he signed a new deal with WWE most recently. So that's what we know. There's just speculation, though there was some reports of Lesnar being involved in some scenario at WrestleMania. But at the time, that scenario still had Lesnar and some mixture of Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre in a triple threat scenario for the WWE Championship. Obviously, Drew McIntyre, he could be near that WWE title scene pretty quickly again, but doesn't seem like that's the case. So let's get into other ones here. I want to talk about this match in the final hour of the show. Retribution just can't seem to get a win. All right. This group of masked up goofs led by Mustafa Ali just can't get themselves a win, John. And they lose a 6-man tag team match against United States Bro Champion, Riddle, Lindsay Dorado, and Gran Metalik. And Ali is just so pissed. He's going off on them, and then he calls out Matt Riddle, who jumps in the ring, and they have a pretty fun, short, dynamic little match. A little bit of a botcheroonie there at the end of the show. It looked like he was looking for a Frankensteiner off the top of the rope, but it did look nasty the way that Riddle landed. So, even when there's a botch, and it's okay. No one got hurt, so I'm okay with that. No one got maimed or injured. I saw some people say, "Oh, botch." If you landed like that, you'd still be hurt, and someone could pin you. So Ali pins Riddle. I think this is something that Ali needs. We were hearing rumblings of Ali maybe having some special match at WrestleMania this year, despite Retribution being flunked out with many, many fans. What do you think of the scenario there?
So I definitely think after tonight we're probably going to get those two in a championship match at some point. I guess that's okay. I mean, Riddle being a face.
You pin the champion in an on-title match. You deserve a title shot.
Yeah, and Riddle being a face, they need a heel to challenge, and I think Ali is good for that role. And I think it could work out. I would like to see this group break up, though, somehow involved in this. I hope basically the way they're doing this is Retribution loses all of their matches. Ali wins, but that's because Retribution helps him. I think at some point they should be like, well, we're not going to help you anymore.
People sounding off. They seem like they really enjoyed this week's Monday Night Raw with the ratings here. The 1 to 10. Dean is texting in, give it a 9 out of 10. We have some other 9s here. Vernon, who big supporter of the show. Thank you so much, Vernon. He gives Raw as a 10. He liked it a lot. A lot of people continue to sound off. If you don't have a big take here, don't worry. You can still just punch in a number there and let us know what you think here. So a lot of people freaking out about this big title change. So I think it's the main thing people are coming off of here. Do you think if they didn't give you the title change, we'd be getting like 2s and 3s and like, oh, ridiculous, and you teased it for 3 hours? But they gave you a payoff here. They gave you a big payoff here.
Yeah, it's hard to say what the reaction would be if it didn't end that way, but like you said, they gave you the payoff, so, that's what you have to go off of, and I think it was a good decision.
Alexa Bliss is still demonic. What is the latest on Alexa Bliss being a total creepazoid, continuing to terrorize Randy Orton?
So Randy Orton did a promo where he pretty much said like Wyatt is ruining his patience and focus, and Orton can't do anything. He can't get to the level he wants to be at because he can't stop thinking about Alexa Bliss and The Fiend. So Bliss comes on the screen again and basically says that we're eventually going to bring him back, which leads into basically Randy Orton talking to himself. It was obviously like a segment that he had recorded earlier, but it was Bray Wyatt like taking over Randy Orton, talking to Randy Orton about, all of your past sins and mistakes are going to come back to haunt you when I come back. So, I mean, this is obviously going to be a WrestleMania thing. Some people aren't happy about how long this has been drawn out. What do you think?
Do you think it's a little long on the tooth? But if you're going to burn someone alive and then bring them back at WrestleMania and they're a demonic monster, I guess this is a way to do it. It's weird to say it isn't out of the realm of possibilities.
Well, yeah,
burned alive comes back at WrestleMania.
I do think at this point we won't see him until then.
DJ, big fan of the show, gives this week's Monday Night Raw a 7.5. Dog. Let's see if John gives it a 7.5. His signature rating for all of our shows is a 7.5. Dog. He's looking with his magnifying glass to see what's going to happen here. More people chiming in here. Other people with their takes. I think Randy Orton versus The Fiend has to be some type of spectacle at WrestleMania. They did have a match some years ago at WrestleMania with the previous incarnation of just Bray Wyatt, who's a mystical character. The projections they did there were really weird. They tried some really hokey stuff, but I think they've gotten the Fiend character to this whole new level where people almost want those things. They would like, if you had a hologram in a match with him, it wouldn't bother anyone. They want people to try all that stuff. This guy has puppets. They want the Firefly Funhouse. People are going to want something out there and weird. And this is, I think, where they're going to do something that's designed to be out there, weird, and filled with a whole bunch of gaga. If it's going to be a Firefly Funhouse match, I don't know. How do you do that and not feel like you're robbing a live crowd of it? So there's that element. So it'll be challenging. It'll be challenging for sure. Other people with different takes here. Want to get some new people on the show. Justin Nicholas Warner saying, I love this being drawn out. Wyatt definitely must deliver after all of this. So yeah, so there's some hype. So there's some people, especially when you talk to casual fans, they love the Fiend. You and I see this all the time doing these shows. There is no one that we get asked about what they're going to do next more than the Fiend. There's no one we get asked what they're going to do next more than him and actively in wrestling right now. And I'm accounting for the champions and other things like that. So people are still intrigued. So as much as we can say this is long in the tooth, if people are asking, it means they want to see something happen.
Sure.
Let's get into this. Charlotte Flair cut herself one hell of a great promo. She came out to the ring and pitched the footage from last week, which showed that Shayna Baszler kicked a tooth out of Asuka's mouth, her tag team partner, the Raw Women's Champion. In this same scenario, Charlotte made it clear with the WrestleMania sign looming in the background that she wants to take on Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. Cue the WWE Women's Champions, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. They say this isn't going to happen. They're not going to have it. And we get a Shayna Baszler Charlotte Flair match. Short, fun, and effective. Nia tried to interfere, but bumbled it. And Charlotte is able to hit a beautiful, beautiful finisher, which looked like she really drove Shayna's head into the mat. The way they shot this made sense. And Charlotte picks up the win, gets out of the ring. She's going to get beat up after the match. I thought this is the right thing to do to kind of get Charlotte away from that whole Lacey Evans scenario, which kind of definitely fell through because she's pregnant, right? And they sent Ric Flair home in a pretty compelling promo. Have they really corrected the course here with Charlotte?
Not yet. I'm not convinced yet because the way they're playing it off, I would have preferred if she would have just like turned heel, like in person and like attacked Asuka or something. Now it appears like the direction they're heading is kind of like that face versus face match where somebody will be superior. I'm not really a fan of it, but this is obviously the match we're going to get at Mania.
All right, if you guys are watching, if you're watching on the live stream, if you're listening, right now I'm holding up the WWE Road to WrestleMania Trivia and Activity book. It's pretty fun. Harold, who's with us, won one of these. Harold, it's going to be in the mail soon here. I want to give one of these away tonight. How about that? We're going to give away one tonight, and we're going to give away some more later this week. I want you guys to share the link to the show. All right, you share the link to the show. If you're on the podcast side of things, you guys can just tweet out the link and just tag us in this and say WrestleMania Trivia Contest. Okay, use that hashtag there. Just make sure you tag WrestleZone. Say, hey, I'm sharing the link. I want to win the contest. So you want to do a trivia question here before we move on to the rest of the show? This is fun. I enjoy this. Oh, look at that. They have WrestleMania bingo. This is so cool. And they have test your skills. Name WWE person, place, or thing related to the letters of the alphabet. Wow, see, they teach you letters for the kids. You gotta learn your alphabets. WWE champion. The WWE champion with the single longest reign is Bruno Sammartino with a reign of how many days? John Clark, was it A, 3,820, B, 8,302, C, 823, or D, 2,803 days? How long did he hold the title?
That last
the answer
one.
Key. The last one?
2803.
He says 2803. Let's see if you're right. I think he may have held it longer. I feel like they did. You are absolutely correct. Look at you, John Clark. You know you're Uno with Bruno. All right, so if you guys want to win that, go ahead and share the link to the show, especially if you're watching.
That's crazy, though. Keep in mind, that's like almost 8 years.
And mind you, they didn't have TV. They didn't have like 4 or 5 hours of TV. You didn't see the page turn as much. So that was really based on like every few months they come to town and you believe that Bruno was not going to lose that belt. So crazy times here. I've heard from people that were there the night he lost the title and there was literal, you couldn't hear anything. The whole, like it was Madison Square and people were dead silent. Imagine the sound, the way the air got sucked out of the room when The Undertaker lost at WrestleMania. People said it was the same way when Bruno lost the title. People definitely texting in here with their different takes here. Sean Bossman, he doesn't feel like he wants to wait for this whole Randy Orton versus The Fiend mess. And Sean Bossman saying, I may be in the minority. I am not a fan of The Fiend. I despise the Playhouse angle. It's a Playhouse. He doesn't want to be in Bray and Alexa's Playhouse. He doesn't need that. Back to the possible Asuka versus Alexa situation. Nash is saying we knew Asuka versus Charlotte was going to happen, not a surprise. Well, here's the thing. I don't know if it's a given that's going to happen here. There's a lot of other players involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's so many possibilities, but I think it's pretty obvious where they're heading. I mean, what do you think?
I think that's where they're heading, but I think there's going to be, as we saw with Miz and Lashley here, some curveballs. WWE has a lot of television. They have a lot of extra attention, and I think they have a lot of extra expectations on them. And as you can see, they did a WWE title change on television. They did this as well, I believe, back in October or November. And they don't mind doing that because they know the road to get there is just going to be as compelling. I really feel that this year's WrestleMania, as I've kind of said in the past few weeks, and I see more and more, the expectations are high for it because it's a WrestleMania where WWE returns in front of live fans. But I think that in itself is a selling point. You know, I keep saying that the real headliner of WrestleMania is WWE in front of live fans again, even if it's this socially distant, cardboard fans separating people scenario like we saw at the Super Bowl. We're likely going to get some form of that at WrestleMania. I think that's going to be the attraction. Is hearing the roar of a live crowd is going to be the attraction. Above all, above any match, above anything, that will be the attraction here. Let's get into Braun Strowman. Shane McMahon wanted him to calm down. He's getting really furious with Big Braun here. And he pairs Braun with the bane of his existence, WWE official Scrap Daddy, Adam Pearce, to take on the Raw Tag Team. What did they do to win a Raw Tag Team title shot? What did they do? Not get along? They suddenly get a title shot? This annoyed me. This got under my skin a little bit.
Yeah, they didn't do anything at all. You're right.
And of course, the match didn't go particularly well. And like some other things tonight, it was really, it was an angle. And the Strowman Express was not too happy with the results here. And infuriated Strowman was not happy that the gold standard rolled up Adam Pearce here for the win. Where does this go? Are we getting a Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman freakish daring do push over a car match at WrestleMania?
Probably, yeah. I think we're going to see Strowman and Shane McMahon in a match. Is that where you think they're heading to? I
think it's where they're heading. I think it could be entertaining. It's up Shane McMahon's alley to do something like this that's like high spot driven, that where he can climb up to something. And this is also Braun Strowman's alley, where he's known for doing feats, where he goes out and picks up something and knocks it over or pulls down the entire stage. And those are things that people remember. And he's one of the few guys who can look believable doing that, even though it's ridiculous and over the top, right? So let's get in some more comments here. Going to Mike Rendaller, who's getting us over on Twitter, by the way. We're streaming the shows now on Twitter. He says, I would like to see Charlotte win, but I will also like to see her keep the title for a while. Yeah, some people think that she's just going to drill through a couple of title reigns just to get next to her dad's 16-time title reign. He's Ric Flair, 16-time world champion. Happy birthday to Ric Flair, by the way. Happy birthday to him, celebrating his birthday this past week. Would be interesting here. I don't know if they're going to do 4 title reigns in the next 4 weeks, but if that's something they could do in 2021, that would be a real attraction in and of itself to be there the night that she could potentially either break her father's record or match it. And she could do that within the next year and a half. I don't think they're going to do it within 2021, but I think they could definitely do something with that within the next year and a half if they wanted to.
You think already?
Maybe near the end. I mean, maybe next year's WrestleMania, that would be a fun thing to do, is to do like Charlotte. If they give her maybe 1 or 2 world title runs that are short or weird, have some shenanigans.
Like they did it with the New Day.
yeah, like they did with the New Day to get them there. Yeah. We got to get a question in here. Mr. James. Espanto. Fernando Taguay. You didn't spin the fingers, John. Taguay. James is always with us. He goes, Big Kev, Big John. Is Asuka and Charlotte the Grand Slam winners? Do they have all the titles? I believe so.
Bailey was the first one to do it.
Yes. I don't know if you consider the Royal Rumble a title. I mean, it's certainly an accomplishment. It's they're going to put it on your profile if you win a Royal Rumble.
There's been 4, and it's the 4 horsewomen all have done it.
I don't think they've all won it. Royal Rumble?
No. When he says Royal Rumble's not Grand Slam winner, but if he's
you're confusing us here, James. You're confusing us here.
Yeah, but that specifically, it would just be Charlotte. Yeah, but
Gabriel Pérez saying Miz versus Morrison, WrestleMania 37. Morrison didn't help Miz retain. Well, he couldn't. There was a lumberjack of dudes out there. How could he help his buddy chicken shiz his way out of this match? If there's a bunch of the whole locker rooms out there, he can't get away with it. He was neutralized, I tell you. So happy birthday as well to Big E, the reigning Intercontinental Champion. I think he'll be in some developing situation here with Apollo Crews and the weeks ahead over on the SmackDown side of things. What else you want to touch on with this week's Monday Night Raw?
Oh, brother. There honestly wasn't really a whole lot of anything else interesting on the show that we haven't already talked about.
This was an interesting show, though. You can't. If you said this was a boring show, I think you're reaching for something. This was they did do some really long, drag you out for 3-hour things, which I think could piss people off, right? Give me what I want. Give me what I want. Give it to me now. But wrestling and entertainment in itself is built on the tease, right? and they teased you and they teased you and they paid it off, and you got a title change at the end of the night. So if people want to hate this, they really just want to hate it, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's the way to be seeing it here. Certainly want to see people's response to this and what people thought of it. We have a lot of people responding to it in various different ways on Twitter, or reading a lot of different people with different reactions to this, just the general discussion. Here's one. I feel bad for Drew not having the title in front of a crowd, but Lashley is on a roll. I don't know. I just want him to continue dominating the Hurt Business or flying high right now. Cannot deny that at all. So this one tweeting out, yes, Bobby Lashley. That's what I'm talking about. The almighty champion. Congratulations. A lot of people is feeling this title change. If you're a longtime fan, I think you want to see people like this get what they have rightfully earned in the eyes of many, many people, and they built them up the right way. You know, people say, oh, WWE can't build up champions, but I mean, Bobby Lashley's just been there a long enough time. This is just a matter of time, if you will, right?
Oh, yeah, I think it was something coming. We've been talking for a while. Drew's time needed to come to an end. It finally did, but how long? That's a different question. It's a different question.
Let's get into it. We've covered all the big notes. Let's rate this week's Monday Night Raw, the all-important 1 to 10 rating. If you're just joining us, we want to know your 1 to 10 rating. If you're listening on the podcast, hit us up on Twitter with your 1 to 10 rating, and don't forget to share the link to the show if you want to win that WrestleMania Activity Trivia theme book. So what's your rating for this week's Monday Night Raw, John?
We are going to go with a 7.5.
It's a 7.5, dog. Bark. Let out the dog pound. Cleveland Browns. Why a 7.5? You didn't want to give it higher?
No, there was a lot of filler stuff that really didn't make sense, but that main event championship match was good. The way they're going with the whole Charlotte Asuka stuff and the tag stuff, or not the tag stuff, but the Orton Fiend stuff is interesting.
So you think Monday Night Raw, a show that we usually feel like sometimes doesn't deliver. It's been fairly inconsistent the better part of the last year. Of the WWE shows during the pandemic, it's the one that's been a challenge to watch sometimes in the eyes of some fans, right?
Yeah.
This was a marked improvement. This wasn't the best wrestling bell to bell. Sheamus and Drew gave that to you. They opened the show. Did you want Gaga? Did you want ooh and ahs? You got that. You got a title change at the end of the night. They teased you with something, and they paid it off. And they did it all in a couple of weeks. This was done in a couple of weeks to put this together. It makes sense. Miz is a transitional champion. Whether or not he didn't want to be, he is. He'll be a lifer. He'll be fine. This is going somewhere interesting. Bobby Lashley is a box office performer now. Win or lose at WrestleMania. He's being positioned for a big-time match, maybe the biggest match of his professional wrestling career. And it's exciting to see that formula come together. So for that, I give this week's Monday Night Raw, as I'm burping because I'm drinking during the show, I give this week's Monday Night Raw a 7.8. Give it a 7.8. More than the dog rating of 7.5. All right. Obviously, not a bad rating. It's a pretty good area to be in. Matches to seek out include Riddle and Ali, the match of the night with Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, which felt like a pay-per-view match on TV. And the show closing moment, really, of Bobby Lashley snapping, nearly ripping the neck off of The Miz with his hurt lock. Quite the night. I like the direction. Some fresh takes here. WWE throwing some real hard curveballs here in the road to WrestleMania. Let's touch on some other stories in the world of wrestling before we sign off for the night. The NWA reportedly is working on a potential relaunch of content that they'll be filming later this month. What do you think of that? They got bit really hard, John, by the pandemic. Their Power show was a fun show online. It looked different. It felt different. It was a throwback in all the right ways. Dave Meltzer reporting that they will be taping content between the 21st and the 24th. They did sporadically tape content with the United Wrestling Network, which featured their champions. Obviously, some of their champions also featured on All Elite Wrestling, but this is a different direction, right?
Yeah, I mean they lost Wade Barrett also. They lost a couple other people, that left. So I think it would be nice to get a fresh start. I mean, do you think that's the right move?
I mean, you got to do something. I mean, you can't just have your guys on AEW television and say you're going to come back at some point. It's weird because with the pandemic being so drawn out, a lot of us thought hopefully this thing would be done before the end of 2020. When it started, there was a hope of that. And the way they filmed their content at that TV studio in Georgia, it wouldn't be safe like the way they want to do it. It wouldn't be ideal. Their show is small crowd right on top of the ring. That's their show. And it looks and feels like a 1970s studio wrestling show. They created something special and unique in that regard. So I think it would be really challenging for them to, especially the brand they are, where, yes, they are the NWA and they are tied to all that legacy and they will constantly remind you about it. But they're not, it's not like they just have clever ways of doing production around a limited budget or a limited scenario. All right, are they going to draw fans like the WWE? No, but maybe we can draw a couple hundred and tape all of our content for the next 2 months and have a really unique show that plays off of being intimate, old school wrestling in the best way. I mean that term. So I think if they can find a way to get that back somehow, it'll be great. Is it going to be safe? Whole other story, but obviously, there's a lot of people that feel a lot more comfortable leaving their house than they did in November or December with more people getting vaccinated. Obviously, we aren't in the clear. I mean, if they can find a way to do the show socially distant, let's do it. But I don't know how you do that in that studio setting. So maybe there's just a different setting for them to do this. They were taping some of their shows at the United Wrestling Network, a show called Shockwave. They did a couple episodes of it. It looked like they could do something there. It looked like you could do something in the setting. I can't remember the name of the space they did in, but it was kind of a long tunnel-like space, and they had good lighting and things were spread out. I think they could, if they find a space where they can do something with people spread out, almost like the Capitol Wrestling Center with a little less lighting, they could do something cool. So we'll see what happens with them. Want to remind you, WrestleZone has a ton of big content. Ian Riccaboni, the voice of Ring of Honor, just did an exclusive interview with us. We just interviewed the Bushwhackers last week. We also have a fresh episode of AEW Dynamite Focus Show, Two Dynamite Dudes with Attitudes with the D'Angelo brothers. I did a little run-in on there. And we also have WCW Rewritten dropping every Thursday. So tons and tons of content for you on the road to WrestleMania. Do want to talk to you about this, John Clark. We got to do some WrestleMania watch-alongs before we get to WrestleMania, don't we? We got to do some of those.
Got to get tickets first.
Yeah, you got to get tickets. So how, as the days get closer, we don't have WrestleMania tickets. We don't know what's going to go on. We think 30,000 fans are going to be there. You got your flight. You got this. We've talked about it. We talk about when I'm on every show with you. Where are you at with this? Right? The more you wait, do you get more anxious?
Slowly, yeah, each day, slowly. But it's like your 401k. It gets steeper and steeper by day. You know what I mean? Like it's almost like, well, I feel like there shouldn't be any reason to worry because they've said, and all of the news sites, all of the press, all of the media has also said that that this is going to happen. But it makes you wonder how they're approaching it the closer we get. Are they, like you mentioned before many times, will it be all essential workers? Will it be invite only? Will it be certain circumstances to get in? It might not just be go to Ticketmaster.com and put in this promo code and buy your tickets. I still think that's how it's going to be, but I don't know. I'm going to give it another week. I still feel comfortable for another week, but if we're in this situation talking about this a week from now, next Monday night, you'll probably get a different reaction out of me then.
You think you'd be a little bit more angry if we're in a different place a week from now?
Angry would be an understatement.
So you're bordering on anger right now.
I'm just saying I would be more than angry next Monday at this time. I'm okay right now. I'm okay.
Okay, you're good. You're not looking like that here. Sean Smith texting and saying, like sand through an hourglass. These are the quests for WrestleMania tickets. How dramatic is your language?
And let me tell you one thing. I am by far from the only one that is anxious or looking up.
Tons of fans. I mean, mind you, for me, with the scenario, myself touring, I'm doing some comedy shows in March. I want to take proper protocol and risk. I'm going to do some live shows in March in Indiana and in North Suburban Chicago, doing stand-up, trying to get that rolling again. It just isn't in the cards. It is in the cards. So for me, it was out the window already. I had tickets for last year's WrestleMania, cashed out the money.
But day by day, I see more people asking so they can make plans. Now, here's the thing. I already have the plans. A lot of people haven't went as far.
So you're
as
ahead
I
of the
have
curve. You're ahead of the curve.
Yes.
Anyone who's watching the show, if you guys are watching, I know we're nearly an hour in here. Are you guys planning to go to WrestleMania? Is it something you want to go to? I mean, obviously, I think fans want to go to WrestleMania every year.
Yeah.
But is this something this year that you're like, I absolutely need to go? I need to be there. I need to be at this WrestleMania. Let me know. If you're listening or watching on demand, jump into the comments as well. And you can hit us up on Twitter at WrestleZone.com, at WrestleZone.com. You can give John a follow as well at John R. Clark 12. He'll be rejoining me on Wednesday night after AEW NXT. What a big one we're going to have there. AEW going to have Shaquille O'Neal in the ring with Jade Cargill taking on Cody.
Two title matches on the yellow and black brand.
Which one are you looking forward to the most on Wednesday?
Probably the MSK and Danny and Oni match, just because I doubt that we're going to see Raquel and Dakota Kai beat Shayna and Nia Jax.
One of those tag team titles, because the other one it's the two Dusty Cup finals. The women won one. Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez taking on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, and MSK taking on Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. So the men's and women's tag team titles NXT on the line, WWE women's tag team titles on the line. Someone's losing a belt that night. They're not going to have both champions get out of there with their belts, right? You think?
I mean, it's not out of the cards. I think it's unlikely, but I definitely wouldn't doubt if it happened. I think it's a possibility.
Some people saying, John, that you should just forget WrestleMania and go to Disney and Universal in Orlando.
Well, the problem is my flights and everything's already in Tampa and Orlando. So,
well, can you do the rental car thing and just drive down to Orlando? Orlando's not too late. It's a couple hours, right?
It's an hour and 15 minutes from Tampa to Orlando.
Oh, man, do it.
When
are you getting down there? When are you getting down there?
I'm getting down there Thursday the 8th, and I'm coming back Tuesday the 13th.
Oh, you got to do a Disney day. Do a Disney day.
No.
You don't want to do a Disney Universal day?
No, that's not my thing. I'll find something else to do in Clearwater or Tampa. But yeah.
When they were in Orlando, I really wanted to go for that reason. I wanted to go to all those different things for to be able to go and enjoy that stuff here.
We're all going to get together in April of 2022 in Dallas, Texas for a grand old time.
Gabriel asking, will you guys be doing a post show for AEW Revolution? Yes, we'll be doing a post show for AEW Revolution this weekend. So the best thing for you guys that like to join our post shows live is to turn on your notifications and subscribe. Specifically on YouTube, I'm seeing, Gabriel, you're there. A lot more people watch our show on Facebook. So if you want to join the show on YouTube, we're going to see your comments all at the same time. StreamYard lets us do that. So make sure that you're subscribing with those notifications on and you're ready. And also keep refreshing WrestleZone.com. Sometimes I have these like pre-scheduled out and you'll know when they're going to go live. And other times, specifically after a pay-per-view, it's pretty hard to do that because we kind of want to wait until the pay-per-view is done, like Elimination Chamber. We were changing the show graphic 4 times during the show, and then it ends and misses the champion. We have to completely throw the graphic out the window. So I would say just keep an eye on our YouTube or our Facebook, whichever one you prefer. I know some people like to watch our show on TV. I've heard that from some people. They want to put it up on television, and some people tend to do that through YouTube. So if you're doing that, send me a screenshot of it. I'd love to see a picture of the show on television. That'd be kind of neat. A couple more things here saying who is ordering AEW Revolution. Yes, this is a traditional pay-per-view. We're going to charge the $50 for it coming up this weekend. So it's going to be certainly an interesting week for AEW, a real challenge for them on the proverbial road to WrestleMania. I do like that they get their show in a full month before WrestleMania. They don't have to be right on top of it. I think that's smart by them, right? Don't want to be right on top of WrestleMania if they were like running the weekend before or the weekend of. It'd be a really bad idea. So good on them. We will be back tomorrow afternoon. I will likely be joined by Tyler Treese from WrestleZone, who's not been on the show in a long, long time, and Dominic D'Angelo, who joins me as well. We will have as well an Impact post-wrestling show with the Four Meatsmen. Do you know about the Four Meatsmen now? John Clark, we have the Four Meatsmen Bill Pritchard comes on down high from the WrestleZone throne and joins Robert DeFelice, Dominic D'Angelo, and myself, and we talk about meat slapping men and their meat slapping matches, just slapping meat and just grilling and slamming and grade A USDA beef slams. That's what we're talking about. We just make meat references the whole time. So join us for that on Wednesdays, as well as the AEW NXT post show, which, as I mentioned, will be quite interesting this week. And thank you guys so much. We will also have the SmackDown Double Down on Saturday mornings. Another reason to keep those notifications on and catch up with everything that's going on in the world of wrestling. Obviously, WrestleZone.com has your hookup. I will be live on stage at Madame Zuzu's on March 12th, the coffee shop of Billy Corgan, the owner of the NWA. How about that? In the north suburbs of Chicago, I'll be hosting that show with the great Sully Santos. And then March 19th, Valparaiso, Indiana, Google the Market Lounge Comedy Club. I will be live there for two shows, socially distant and safe. Looking forward to it, man. Looking toward to the slow climb, the steady climb. I'm hearing rumblings that music festivals could be back in certain parts of the country by the end of the summer. So things are looking good. They may not be completely back by the time WrestleMania happens. Maybe, John, I'm rooting for you to get your tickets. Maybe, unfortunately, it might be easier for you to get SummerSlam tickets. So we'll see what happens.
I'll see you there too.
Yeah, dude, we'll go to SummerSlam. We'll get bombed and just yell, Boston, what's wrong with you? From Lowell, Massachusetts, we're going to the wrestling show, SummerSlam. It's gonna be Camden Yards. Go Red Sox. Nomar Garcia Parra is gonna go in there. He's gonna fight Kofi Kingston. Dude, did you not like my deep Boston Red Sox reference?
TD Garden, firstly, is where.
No. I'm play a baseball.
I got you.
Play a baseball stadium. Do something crazy. Kevin Garnett and the Celtics are gonna be out there, and they're gonna whomp on all those WWE jabronis. I know, all that ridiculousness. All right, thank you guys so much for watching the show. We hope you are safe wherever you are, keeping the mask on your nose, on your mouth, keeping your distance, staying safe, watching the wrestling, getting on the old virtual couch with us, following John R. Clark 12 on Twitter, following at Kev Kellam on the Twitter machine, following WrestleZone. And remember, when watching wrestling, you can bitch about your fantasy booking not being fulfilled, but you can also just relax, breathe, sip a cool drink, get yourself a High Life with a lime in it like I'm doing right now, and remember to enjoy wrestling.